Have you ever felt so moved by something that you stand in front of a room full of people and cheer it on? Been so impacted by something that you'd mark your body with it forever, just so that you wouldn't let yourself forget how important it was to you? Well, I have, and so have millions of other people, and it's led us down the path of. I want to say it was about 5 or 6 when I encountered Batman for the first time, and I honestly don't know how the obsession started. It was something that I did with my dad when I was a kid, watching the old reruns of the '66 show with Adam West. Um, but I don't know. I don't know if it was the fact that he was just a dude in a giant bat costume fighting bad guys, and I thought that was cool, or if it was the fact that he was human, taking on people like the Joker or the Riddler, that I thought was even better. But from then on, I was pretty much hooked on everything Batman.
To come clean and admit it up front, I was at the ripe age of the Tim Burton Batman. That was my generation. So I was young enough when the first one came out that it was life changing. I think I saw it 8 times in the theaters. I bought the movie novelization just to read it. But, it served as the gateway to the comics.
His origin's just always been so interesting to me. The billionaire kid who just loses his parents in the alleyway. I don't know, I know it's so overdone in movies, all the time, but, if you were going to personally make the movie for me, you could show that constantly. I just love that origin. Him, him then becoming a vigilante, training into becoming this Batman, not using guns, his whole philosophy, plus just his whole world in general, all the villains he faces, his detectiveness. It's just...
I used to think I was Spider-Man. I had a bunk bed. I used to jump off of that all the time. I think the couch too.
I don't know if you're familiar with Underoos. I had, all the superhero Underoos, like the DC Super Friends and things like that. So I would pretend that I was Superman or Spider-Man or whatever.
I invented a whole superhero that was incredibly powerful, like the Silver Surfer, had invested with the power cosmic, but was deeply damaged and was causing all kinds of havoc. So I would imagine what my powers were and do all kinds of things. And that was really fun. I could kind of surf him through X-Men or Fantastic Four or Spider-Man or what have you, and have relationships with the beautiful female characters in that fantasy world. But he was always on the verge of destroying the world because his powers were too great and he couldn't control them. And I kind of that felt like who I was on the inside.
My surgeries, Mom and Dad always call me Superman because I always fight it.
Growing up, Batman was somebody that I identified with heavily. At his core, Batman is just another regular guy who will do whatever it takes to stop crime and save the day and take on anybody from the Joker to Darkseid to countless other metahumans or bad guys. And that was kind of something that I needed as a kid and something that I saw in myself. I have a condition known as cerebral palsy, which meant a lot of trips in and out of the hospital growing up and a lot of surgeries and recovery time and casts. So Batman was kind of somebody that I looked to and saw myself in a way, because we were both tackling a lot of hardships and coming out on the other side even better than we were before. And even now with Flash and Arrow, those are shows that kind of allow me to put myself into that world in a way. It doesn't matter what I'm going through during the week. If I'm having a fight with somebody or if I'm just having a bad week in general, for a couple of hours I can tune out and not have to worry about anything and, get to feel like what it feels like to run at 200-300 miles an hour and feel the wind in your face and be like Barry Allen, Jay Garrick, or Wally West and just kind of ride that lightning for a little while.
A lot of times it's a good way to connect with a lot of the friends I've made, definitely. it's like, it's one of those things, I don't know, maybe it's just the crowds I hang out with. Usually you can connect with people, like most people have some kind of superhero, especially nowadays with how much it's in the media. Yeah, like you, Josh, people at work, it's usually like you say like, oh, did you see that movie or something, like this movie? And they're like, oh, dude, I love this superhero. So in some way, it's probably the biggest way it's factored into my life is it's helped me. What was it? It's just a good way to make, some common, how would I say? It's a common interest you usually have among different people you meet. So I guess in some ways it's helped me bond more better with certain people.
My friends and I really wanted to start our own comic book company. And so, from like 8th grade through high school, even a little bit in college and afterwards, we were always talking and dreaming of hopefully one day doing that.
All my best memories of pre-college comic book collecting are with my friend Stuart. Every Friday or Sunday, we would get on our bikes in Highland Park. We would go across the big Route 1 bridge to where what is now the Lowe's movie theater, but used to be the Route 1 flea market. And it was the craziest place to go because it had all this eclectic stores, and it had military surplus shops with like where you could buy knives, and you could buy like Killikami for mommy t-shirts and all this inappropriate crap. And we'd pick up our comic books and get a bag of like fresh cut French fries, come back and read it.
I must have been like 7. It's kind of late, but my cousin gave me a Court of Owls, like limited edition Batman comic, and he gave me the Killing Joke comic too. And I still to this day haven't even opened the Batman one because supposedly it's kind of rare.
Comic books for me have been kind of how I relate to the world and how I kind of connect with people. My sister, for one, is somebody that, she bought me my first comic book, and she was there when I got my first tattoo and my second tattoo, and, comic books were kind of a way for us to become closer than we were before. And even with my nieces and nephews, it's been something that I get to pass on and share with them. My nephew Marky, he's kind of like the Robin to my Batman, simply because there's really no other way to put it. He's somebody that kind of enjoys this stuff almost as much as I do, or probably even a little bit more than I do. And it's been fun to pass it on to him and to show him all this stuff that I've collected over the years, and see the look on his face when he sees a picture of Batman.
Like going to the premiere night of the movies, like with family, and you're like the only one, you and Colin, the only ones I usually see the premiere. We've seen a lot. Like I remember the Thor Ragnarok, Ant-Man and the Wasp, the Avengers Endgame.
It's always cool to get positive reactions from the subject. Robbie Amell actually came looking for me because someone had brought it to him to sign it. And so that was one of the first people that actually came to look for me. And that was pretty exciting. It was kind of like, wait, you're looking for me? Like, did I do something wrong? I'm sorry.
I guess in some ways it's given me motivation as far as how sometimes I tell certain stories, or it's given me ideas of how to tell certain stories. It wasn't until like maybe like Dark Knight came out that like I saw that superhero movies could be like really good, like in films. So I guess in that sort of way I saw that you could take those stories and it shows me that you can take any story and you can make it good, as long as you actually have a smart person behind the camera and hardworking people.
For as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to write my own comic book. So much so that if I had gotten a call from, Jim Lee or somebody at Marvel or any of the other independent publishers, I'd sign on the dotted line and be on the next flight out. And, it wouldn't even have to be anything big like Batman or Superman. It could be, somebody like Kite Man or Clayface, or, Etrigan the Demon is somebody that I've always wanted to write, just because he speaks in rhyme all the time, so it'd be fun to kind of try to tackle that and figure out a story for that. And it's just something that I want to be able to do one day, so that I could say, see this book right here, I wrote this book and I contributed to this book.
To the world of comics, I think finding your collaborators or finding people that you trust with your work, who you can create something together. I know that I can't do a comic by myself. Like, I need others to partake in this experience. So finding your family or finding your team is immensely important, because, it's not just one person fighting the good fight. It's 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, and they're all collaborating on this one project. Whether you're the writer, the illustrator, the colorist, the letterer, even the editor, these are all people that you could be actively seeking out and finding and collaborating with. So it's not just your fight alone. It's a group, your team. Find your team.
In terms of art, I would say it helps to just kind of be aware of things around you. Look at the way clothing falls on somebody, the wrinkles in people's shirts, or the way light works, hitting the human body, or objects on the table or something like that. When you're first getting started, like, don't compare yourself to the people you admire, because you're going to get frustrated and you're going to just give up. Those people have been doing it for years. They've been practicing forever. They used to be where you were. So don't compare yourself to those people that are professionals now.
Looking back on my life, I can honestly say I don't know where I'd be without comic books. For me, they've been responsible for so many good memories, like going to freezing my ass off to go see Deadpool with my friend Mike back in high school, or going to countless other movie screenings with my friends Colin and Nate, who you saw earlier, or just going to get comic books every couple of weeks with my friend Ryan. But they've been great. I can honestly say that without them, I probably wouldn't have studied English or taken this class or started writing or done any stuff like that. So they've been pretty huge in my life, and I wouldn't have checked in with all these people that you just watched in the video, and I wouldn't have done half of the things that I've done. And to be honest, I think John said it best for me and a lot of other people when he said,
I have like a love for them that I don't even quite understand how to put into words. They just carry so much joy for me.